Hi guys, today we are looking at motivation, focus, and drive, which is obviously all about mindset. I know that we all have periods in our lives where we feel a great sense of motivation and drive and determination to reach our goals, and then likewise we also have periods in our lives where we struggle to maintain that drive and focus and motivation to really achieve what we want to do. I think oftentimes it really comes down to being distracted. I think there's so many things going on a daily, a weekly sort of basis with everything else that is sort of thrown into the mix. That's oftentimes why we lose that focus and that drive because we're distracted by so many other elements of our lives and all the other hats that we have to wear. Whether it's being a parent, a wife, a husband, the career side of things. So really, we need to have that sort of focus on the things that are really important to us and try to really work out what things are taking up a lot of our concentration, our time, our efforts that perhaps maybe aren't so important. um, this quote here: "Once your mindset changes, everything on the outside will change along with it." I think really says it all. If we work on our mindset, then we can control everything else really, sort of externally. We can reach our goals. We can achieve what we're looking to. Um, what I'm going to talk about next is intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. Most of us are predominantly focused on extrinsic motivations, but really, research shows that intrinsic motivation has a much higher sort of carryover. The people that have the intrinsic motivation, they're oftentimes more successful with regards to achieving their health, fitness, or body transformation goals, as opposed to those that are purely just focused on extrinsic motivations. So we're going to just quickly have a look at that. As we've got there on the slide, Sammy is intrinsically motivated to run. So intrinsic motivation is when you are doing something because you enjoy it or find it interesting, compared to Danny, whose reasons for running involve extrinsic motivation or doing something for external reward or to avoid negative consequences. So, as I say, I know there's a lot of people, not our program at the moment, but that I've talked to over the years that really just do not enjoy exercise, and they've got lots of negativity displayed and attached to exercise or healthy eating. So they're straight away going to have a difficulty making lifestyle changes and things like that because they've got so many negative links to movement, exercise, and a lot of that can be from our childhood, maybe growing up, had bad experiences with sport or PE at school, and so therefore that has scarred that person. That has made them not enjoy exercise and fear it, or have got pain attached to it through a number of different means. And so, therefore, that person oftentimes uses the extrinsic motivations, focusing on the weight loss or the reward of the weight loss or the external factors, which quite often, if we're honest, everyone is going to go through plateaus. Everyone is going to struggle at times to see a constant sort of weight loss. And that's for everyone. That's not just some people. Like, everyone will go through these little plateaus. So when a person hits that plateau, if their only focus is on the weight loss, they're oftentimes going to become demotivated and not going to be able to stick it long term. So as much as we can, we need to be really sort of trying to find enjoyment in exercise, and hopefully, as we go through this presentation, we'll dig deeper into that. A lot of the examples I'm giving on the presentation probably are more examples of extrinsic motivations, but as I say, we can sort of talk more about the intrinsic side of things as we go along. So, in terms of creating that motivation, that drive, that that desire to achieve a goal, to achieve an outcome, we obviously need to start off with creating a goal, and there's specific steps involved in creating a powerful goal, really, and the goal really has to mean a lot to you. It has to be something that you are willing to fight for. That, you know, as I say, is extremely powerful to you. Um, and obviously, when we're setting goals, then we've got to back them up with certain behaviour changes or habits that we're going to form along with the goal. And as I was saying in the previous slide, I think that the main reason why people struggle to stick with a goal and to achieve a goal is because they've got a lot of negative sort of associations and baggage um, around exercise and around healthy eating. And Tony Robbins, he talks about that we use two sort of forces or two powers throughout our life, which sort of guide us, and those are pain and pleasure. So we're always weighing up whenever we're about to make a decision or take a specific action. Is this going to bring more pleasure, or is it going to bring along more pain? And I think it's important to understand that if we straight away think that something is going to be extremely painful and that it's going to involve a lot of hard work, and we're focused on all the negative elements of it, our likelihood of following through with it is probably pretty slim. If we perceive that the activity or the task is pleasurable and that it's going to be enjoyable, then our likelihood of following through with it is going to be much higher. So we're going to again talk more about the pain pleasure sort of thing a little bit later on, but just sort of bring it in now, just so that you're sort of thinking about that as we go through the rest of the talk. So looking back at goals, as you can see, there's a specific way of setting a goal up using the SMART principle. So SMART stands for the goal needs to be specific to you, not too general. It needs to be measurable. Yeah, there needs to be numbers there, specific numbers that again we can clearly say. So I've given an example here at the bottom, which we'll look at in a second, which we can clearly see the difference between a good goal and a badly written goal. It needs to be attainable or realistic. That's really important. Obviously, you don't want to set yourself up for failure. If we was looking at weight loss as an example, we might say, okay, it's realistic to lose, you know, 2 to 3 pound, even possibly 4 pound in a week, depending on what starting point someone's at. So you know, based on that, we could work out over a 4 week period. You know, we could look at, say, losing 8 pound or maybe a little bit more if someone's got more weight to sort of lose to start with. And it needs to be relevant and time sensitive. So a poor example of a goal would be someone just stating that they want to lose weight, um, as much like weight as possible and get healthier. So there's no deadlines there. There's no. It's not very specific. It's not time sensitive. So that would be a poor example of a goal. A better example would be to say, I'm going to lose £10 of body fat, or £10 of weight in 5 weeks, and I'm going to lower my blood pressure by 100, lower my blood pressure to 120/80 within 6 months. So as you can see, that follows that SMART principle. And if you guys really do this, it will definitely make a big difference. Just a couple of other examples, of well-written goals. So over the next 6 weeks, I will have lost £15 of fat. I lost 2 inches off my waist. I will fit into my size 34 jeans and have an incredible amount of energy. So as you can see, there is a time frame. 8 weeks there, but 6 weeks. A tangible goal: £15, 34 size jeans, and a statement that describes how you will feel from committing to that goal. So that's an example of a sort of a well-written goal there. Next, what we need to do is, so we've written the goal out, we know what we're wanting to achieve. Then what we need to do is we need to understand the reason why that goal is so important to you. So the goal, as I say, we've got all the figures there. We've got specifically what we want to achieve. We've got the time frame. Everything's detailed down there. But now we need to understand why that goal is so important to you. More though at an emotional level, not sort of an intellectual brain response. So as an example, or a poor example, of why someone might want to achieve a health related goal might be that, okay, the reason I want to achieve a health related goal is because the doctors told me that I need to start exercising. So that would be a poor example, versus someone else who comes in and says, okay, the reason why I want to achieve a health related goal is because I've got high blood pressure and my children are still fairly young, and my father or family member died from heart disease at quite an early age. They missed their father growing up or mother growing up due to that disease, that illness, and that they don't want the same thing happening to their children. And as I say, it should move you emotionally if you've set the goal up properly. So it's really important that we understand, and what I would ask you to do is write it out in a paragraph, exactly why the goal is so important to you. I've given a few other examples there on the slide. Everyone's reason for doing something is different, but it's really important that you're honest with yourself. It could be something to do with appearance. It could be something to do with wanting to attract someone into your life. There's many different reasons as to why people set goals and want to achieve it, but most people don't dig deep enough and don't really find the true reason and don't understand what it is that they want and the outcome of their goal. And that's the real powerful part of this, really, is that I want you to dig really deep on this and get a real good understanding of what it is that you really want from your goal. Write it out in a paragraph and then view it on a daily basis. It really helps as well once you've written that goal, the reason why that goal is so important to you. It really helps then to visualize the consequences of if you don't take specific actions, if you don't change your lifestyle, if you don't start committing to exercise, committing to your diet, what's the consequences, what's going to happen. Start to use pain in a slightly positive way, if that makes sense. So what you can start to do is start to see use it as a like almost like a crystal ball. Start to look at, okay, if I don't make these changes, what's happening to me at the moment is just going to continue to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And then these are the consequences. This is what's going to happen to me based on that. And then what you need to do is then flip it around and then visualize the flip side of it. But if you do make the changes, if you do follow through, if you do adopt a new exercise program and eat healthy eating plan, how that is going to shift your life in a different direction, what are all the pluses that you're going to get from it, visualize it, see those things happening, get excited about it. As I say, allow it to move you emotionally. That's really the power really in doing this. And you need to practice it daily. If you've ever achieved anything really big in your life, or achieved something that perhaps maybe thought that perhaps maybe it's going to be difficult to achieve, oftentimes it's because you gained a little bit of obsession with it. You was thinking about it on a daily basis. It was you was conditioning it into you. Examples, not exercise related, but examples could be, the amount of times I've spoken to people that have had a dream of owning a specific car, or owning a specific item of clothing or a house or something, and they can see themselves doing it, they can see themselves driving it, they can see themselves wearing it, they become obsessed with it, they're looking at images of it whilst they're working, they're programming it into their subconscious mind, and gradually nourishing it and growing its potential. That's just one of the things, just to quickly mention, is the way you should sort of think of your mind is like a garden. And what you've got to oftentimes do is pull out some of the weeds that have been growing there, some of the negative self-talk that you've got, that has been, going on for some time. You might catch certain conversations that you have in your own head, that you're telling yourself that you're not good enough, or that you can't achieve this, or this can never happen because of this. And oftentimes, when we break these goals, these thought processes down, and these patterns down that people have going on in their mind, oftentimes when we break them down, we realise that there's no real truth to them. It's just something that's been conditioned into us from an early age. Through not necessarily any fault of your own. So what we need to start doing is sort of be mindful of the conversations that are going on in our minds, what things we're telling ourselves, what things we're saying, and start to sort of realise that these things aren't true. And as I say, if you need help with that, I can speak with you and we can talk about some tasks, some activities that you can do to start deconstructing those things that are going on. But then obviously you've got to start planting new seeds, and this is where, as I say, if you view that paragraph that you've written out as to why that goal is so important to you, and you plant that seed in your head, and you nurture it on a daily basis, you grow it, you water it, you nurture it, it will become bigger and bigger and more important, and you'll be more and more driven to go out and achieve that goal. Actually, just going back there, as you can see, we've talked there about the need for it to ideally to find some intrinsic motivational patterns into this. Yeah, so it is really important that we're not just focused on all external extrinsic motivations. Try and link some intrinsic motivation into this as well. So I think we've pretty much covered this, but how to set the goals, so make it specific. We've said about that. Use real number sizes to get a specific target. Make it measurable. Yeah, we know that. Making it reasonable. This sounds silly because I want you to shoot for the stars, but also have to set yourself up for success. You may not be able to reach your ultimate look or lose £50 in a few weeks, but you can get a good jump start on it. Make it time based. Yeah, you definitely need to have a deadline, and if you can, with that deadline, make sure that it can't be moved. Whether that's a holiday, so the holiday's set, you can't move that. Then, you don't want to keep adjusting that deadline. Make it realistic from the start, and then keep it that fixed deadline. And then there's the power. Really, you've been held towards that. I think it's also as well really important that you make sure that you have a really good support network around you. Make a list of all of the people around you who are gonna support you, who they'll be there for you, they'll help you, and then make a list of the people as well who aren't going to be as supportive. Those people that perhaps maybe will try and pull you off track and will tell you that it's okay to have that bottle of wine, and that are gonna sort of help try to sabotage. Not knowingly, not on purpose, but they're not going to be the right people to help you on this sort of journey initially whilst you're getting started anyway. So try and really develop that support network around you. Um, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's really important that your goal is an absolute minimum of an 8, ideally a 9 or a 10. If it's lower than an 8, there's too many other things in your life that will take priority over that goal. So it needs to be ranked right up there. As we've said, the goal has to move you emotionally. That reason why it really is important. It has to move you emotionally. If there's any reason why someone, even if they've done goal setting in the past and they come back to me and they say, "Oh, I've done goal setting, but it didn't really help. I'm still not feeling that motivated." 9 times out of 10, it's because they've not followed these steps properly. They might not have dug deep enough. They might not have found a real powerful reason why they have to achieve this goal. And again, that's something that I can help you with if you need it. What I then want you to do is, we just briefly sort of mentioned this earlier as well, make a list of, say, 3 behaviours that you currently, or behavioural patterns, habits that you currently have that aren't supportive of your goal. Okay, so 3 behavioural patterns that aren't supportive of your goal. And then what I want you to do is try to make changes there. You know those 3 behavioural patterns that are not supportive of your goal that you need to make changes to. So it could be something like every evening you go and get the biscuit barrel, and you go and sit in front of the telly, and you put the biscuit barrel down and you just eat whatever's in there. Yeah, that behavioural pattern, if you continue doing that regularly and consistently, that's not going to move you closer to your goal. So that's something that you've got to change. And I'd focus on just 2 or 3 initially, and then we can build on more and more. You don't just want to get rid of things, you've ideally got to sort of replace them. So then I'd make a list of 2 or 3 habits that you could put in place of that. So, for example, if you know that you're going to be sort of peckish of an evening, if you're going to take away the biscuits, what you could always do is put something else healthier in their place. Whether you want to do some healthy hot protein-based muffins, or maybe you just want some crudits with hummus, you could put something else in place there and have a limit as to how many you're going to have. Yeah, so that you're in control of that. So just to sort of finish off, just to finish off. So I think it's really important that we really realise the power of focusing our mind, focusing our intentions and what we want to achieve. It's really important to understand the pain versus pleasure cycle and how that ties into motivation. Like I said earlier, we can use pain to motivate us in a positive way by understanding how pain, what pains or what we've associated as being painful. So, for example, when if we associated that exercise equals pain, that it's or pleasurable sort of feelings, we need to know all of those things. As I've said on this slide here, identify 2 to 3 comfort foods. Say, so for example, chocolate, cake, ice cream. Notice how you feel when you think about those things. Oftentimes, you'll have linked pleasure to those items. Yeah, as I say, from childhood, maybe from reward or whatever it might have been throughout your life. So now, what we've got to do is we've got to start changing that. And what we can look at doing is start to link more of a pain to those products. Not saying that you should never eat ice cream, and you should never eat cake, you should never eat chocolate, but if you're overindulging on them and you know you've got an unhealthy relationship with those things, perhaps maybe we need to change our thought process and what we've linked to them. So, for example, I worked with a client a number of years back who had diabetes, and she really enjoyed ice cream. That was the one thing, and she could eat a lot of ice cream, a really unhealthy amount of ice cream, and it was not having a positive effect towards her goal of reducing or reversing her diabetes. And so, what we did was we developed uh, a sort of a visual board, and we got lots of some images of her favourite ice creams, and we put those onto this board. And then what we did was we got a load of images um, of people that had suffered through diabetes, images of people that had amputations through diabetes, people that had got sores over their legs, people that were struggling to walk, and all that sort of stuff. And we put those right next to the ice cream. So what we could do is we did a visualization exercise linking the ice cream to the the effects that the ice cream was having. Now, she didn't naturally think that way. When she thought about ice cream, she had lots of pleasurable feelings around it. But once we'd done this exercise a few times, and she linked the actions from eating the ice cream, the negative actions from eating the ice cream, into the actual the tubs of ice cream, she thought about it in a completely different way. She no longer felt like she wanted to eat it, and gradually we managed to pull her away from that by changing her focus. And you can do the same in a positive way then. So, what you can do is get some imagery of people exercising and some imagery of healthy foods and things like that. Put that onto a piece of card, and then you could use affirmations and positive statements and things like that, and read those and visualize yourself being that person in the image and feeling a certain way when you're exercising, and start to link up pleasure towards exercise and pleasure towards healthy eating, and linking up how all the positive effects that you're going to get from making those changes. um, and gradually you can start, as I say, to um, plant new seeds within your subconscious, and that will help you to make changes sort of on a much longer, long-term sort of basis. Um, so we've pretty much covered everything that I'd planned to. Hopefully that has all made sense. And if you've got any questions, obviously feel free to email me, or we can catch up after one of the classes and we can talk then in more detail. Um, yes, so as I say, have a go at some of those activities and tasks that I've sort of outlined there. And if you've got any questions, just get back to me.